Welcome to Lesson 2 in Adobe Illustrator. If you haven't done so, go to the Programs folder and the CS3 folder and open up Adobe Illustrator. In Lesson 2, we're going to be using the Pen tool, and we're going to be revisiting the Fill and Stroke tools. To get started, click on Print Document. We're going to name this one Pen Tool. And we're going to select Landscape, so our picture will be wider than it is tall. So it'll be 8 inches wide and 8.5 inches tall. Then click OK. I'm going to hit minus on the keyboard to shrink this art size, the artwork. There we go. Okay, so our pen tool is right here. You want to make sure you have your pen tool selected, or you can press P. Pen tool is pretty simple. You click once to add an anchor point. So if I left click, I have my first anchor point, and we're going to draw out a W. So you left click to create a new anchor point. And what happens is from one anchor point to the next, it'll connect and it'll draw out a new line. It's pretty simple. Now, say you're done with this and you want to draw something else. You're going to select the Selection tool and then click on the Pen tool again. Next thing I'm going to show you is how to close a path in. So I'm going to left click and I'm going to draw out a square, and I'm going to hover the mouse over the first endpoint. And you can see right now that the cursor has the pen with a little 0 or a little O next to it. Once it's like that, you can left click on the first endpoint and it'll close in the shape. And if we change the fill color, it'll fill in the shape. I'm just going to change that, well, click off of it and then I'll change it back to white. We can also draw curved lines, and you do this by clicking and dragging, and you put out handles to create a smooth anchor point. So make sure you click on the Selection tool and then click on the Pen tool again. So you left click and then you left click again, but you hold down the left mouse button and you drag, and that'll create a curve. And then you're going to do the same thing below it here. Left click and then drag out, and you're creating these smooth anchor curves. Left click again, drag out, left click again, drag out, left click again, drag out. So we're using the Pen tool to create curves. So go ahead and practice these 3 things if you haven't. And then what we're going to do is we are going to, I'm just going to hit Control Z and undo all that. And we're going to save this. We're going to go to File, Save As. Go to your server. Go to your period. And you're going to go to your folder. And if you haven't already, you're going to create a new folder called Illustrator. So I'm waiting for this thing to open up here. Alright, so if you haven't, you would click on Create New Folder. You're going to name it Illustrator. And what we're going to do is we're going to save this. So the file name should already be Pen Tool because we typed it in at the beginning. And you can see the extension for an Illustrator file is AI. Click Save. I already have it in there. When it gets to this Illustrator options, you can leave everything, click OK. Alright, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the Pen tool to draw out our name, and then we'll fill it in with the fill and the stroke. So I'm going to go ahead, and you can do your first or your last name. So we're going to practice drawing out each of the letters. and then filling them in. So we're going to do that for each letter. You can do your first name, last name. If you want to do both, you can do that as well. This is just practice using the pen tool, so don't worry if it's not perfect. Make a little funky F there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the direct selection tool. I'm going to edit copy. I'm going to edit and paste it. And that didn't look like it came out right. Let's see. There we go. Cool. So once I have those, I can kind of move them around, make a little design. The cool thing about vector graphics, remember, is that you can scale them. I'm holding shift there, so it'll constrain the proportions, and you can scale them. So once you have your last name or first name or whatever spelled out with the pen tool, we're going to go to the fill color, and we're going to change the fill, and we're also going to change the color of the stroke. And if you go to stroke right here, you can change the weight of it as well, so that'll give us a wider outline there. And if you don't have some of these tabs, like the color tab or the stroke tab, you go to Windows and you can find them, and you can also see the shortcuts here. So go ahead and give each one a different fill and a different stroke color. And then move the weight of the stroke to at least 10 points. And I've got one more here. Let's see. And if you notice, like I have the same fill color here, so I can always select it. And I can change the color. Let's see, how about red? There we go. Alright, so now they're all different. This green one, change that. Let's see, let's do a little purple. There we go. Alright, so they're all different colors now. So once you have that done, go to File and Save. And you are done with Lesson 2.